Welcome to Daily Persuasion. I'm your host, Joshua Lisec, the New York Times bestselling author and co-author and ghostwriter of more than 90 nonfiction books. Here in Daily Persuasion, I curate a little of the day's news and analysis, and I teach you, based on that, plus all of my experience working with various characters and personalities, a new tip you can use today to influence the VIPs in your life. Now, there has been a marked difference in the way the new right communicates in the United States and around the world, frankly, with the way that the traditional old guard of conservatives around the world, the GOP Republicans, and other parties around the world have communicated, or traditional right-wing parties. Javier Milei, when he ascended in Argentina, his viral video, Afuera, of him selecting the labels or the names of various government departments, grabbing them and throwing up, afuera, afuera, afuera. Certainly you've seen that by now. That's the new right. The new right is J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, saying to a hostile news character, Margaret Brennan, saying about illegal immigration, a particular question around illegal immigration, saying, I don't really care, Margaret. It is Tom Homan, the leader of the, let's say, border enforcement activities under President Donald Trump. It's him refuting a journalist saying, that's a load of crap. We're going to enforce the law and we're not going to apologize for it. It's his strategist, President Trump's strategist, Stephen Miller, saying, after being asked a question, well, I think your question is bad. He said this a number of times. He's also said, well, that's the wrong frame. That's not how I would word the question. Going right to attacking the question and then saying things like, as you know, and then asserting a viewpoint that's held by the president that the left might actually disagree with. It is a flex. It is incredible. It's showing that the new right has healthy testosterone levels. A healthy, vibrant masculinity creates and upholds a civilization. A lot of people have said that civilizations are built and maintained by men, and they collapse upon the absence of men. And it's not literally males, it's masculine men who are protectors and providers who think about what's it going to take to make this work, to get everyone's act together, to get on the same page. Well, we got to get troublemakers and evildoers out. That's ICE. That's Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That's getting the tens of millions, possibly even 100 million illegal aliens in the United States. Get them out. Either we have laws or we don't. It's in the face of gaslighting and emotional manipulating, what various characters are now calling leftist emotional terrorism. I think that's a fantastic frame. It's saying, I don't really care in response to it. There's another hit piece out about me, which is just hilarious. And what do? I take screenshots of it and post and say, look, this is amazing. Now go buy my stuff. I lean into it. I run with it. And what that does is it diffuses its power and it shows those trying to attack those of us who are influential on the new right. It says that the more you try to hurt us, well, what is it that Ben Kenobi said? We'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. That's been the case for myself, Joshua Lisec, as well as for Jack Posobiec. Now, I want to call to your mind a set of tactics that has been used by the old conservatives, neocons they were called. Think like George W. Bush, Dick Cheney sorts of conservatives and Republicans. Think Tony Blair, Republican. Pick whatever right-wing government you can imagine, and this is the old way that the right acted, where they were basically the punching bag of the left, and they tried to wage culture war and lost every single battle because they played by rules that the left would adhere to, but the left expected the right to adhere to and say, look, you're being a hypocrite. You're being a hypocrite. They would say things like, you can't nominate Donald Trump. He's been divorced. You're supposed to be the social conservatives. But social conservatives thought, wait a second. You're pushing for the normalization of every single manner of sexual immorality according to us. And you're saying we can't have someone who's married 3 times? You're saying we can't wait a second, light bulb moment. Now, there is something that weak, effeminate, feminine men do that the right has done for decades, since at least 1945. At least 1945. And there's a very good reason for that. And if you have read my New York Times bestseller, Unhumans, endorsed by President J.D. Vance, you know something about that. But it's called DEAR. It's a DEAR defense. It's an attempted defense against manipulation that proves the manipulation is working. Here it is. DEAR stands for Defend, Explain, Excuse, Rationalize. I'll say it again. Defend, Explain, Excuse, Rationalize. So President J.D. Vance, or Vice President J.D. Vance, rather, we are calling him 48 because we expect him to be president after Donald J. Trump. But 48, in response to Margaret Brennan, he said, remember, I don't really care. I don't want this person in my country, and I think the American people agree with me. That was his response that totally diffused it and said, I don't really care. I'm right, you're wrong. Try winning next time. That was effectively his response to CBS. And the more irate and angry and unhinged the left becomes, the more they alienate the normal people on their own side and push them over to being Trump supporters and, prior to November the 5th, Trump voters. Now, what happens when defending and explaining and excusing and rationalizing? Let's do this quick example. So previously, a weapon that the left has used, the institutional left, both NGOs and nonprofits and actual elected officials, Democrats, liberal influencers, journalists, those in the culture, celebrities, think anyone who identifies with left-wing or liberalism, that reality-free zone. They will say, you're a racist. What is the DEAR defense? Now, if you're engaging in DEAR, oh dear, you are being manipulated. It's like strings and you're the puppet and they're making you dance and making you move. That the DEAR tactics. If you're doing DEAR, oh dear. So, no, I'm not. I'm absolutely not a racist. No, absolutely not. Look at all of the black conservatives who are here. Look at this photo of all the black conservatives. Look at them all. So my spouse is biracial, and I've adopted 2 multiracial children. That's defending, and it's explaining. Now, another version of explaining, the first E of the two is, well, see, when I made that remark, what I meant was, it was taken out of context. It was taken out of context. See, this is the kind of the pearl clutching activity and the collar clutching that the old guard neocons and boomer Republicans, and ironically, Trump is a boomer, but doesn't really act like any boomer that we know. The explanation is like trying to justify it. Well, you didn't hear what no. See, what I meant was, you understand, and then excusing. Like, well, certainly, like, I couldn't possibly be a racist. Someone who meant all these things, and someone who's donated all these things to various black causes. And look, here's a picture of me at a black church and winning an award from a Black American Black Voter Institute. Yes. So come on, don't you? So I'm asking to be excused. Come on, excuse the error. I'm trying to excuse me. Excuse me, please let me be excused from this. Look, come on. It's permission-seeking behavior. It's validation-seeking behavior. And then rationalizing it is giving reasons. Well, see, if you just came to one of these events, you would understand. If you just showed up, if you just okay, well, yeah, I know, 20 per only, a Republican has ever won more than 20% of the black vote. But I mean, like, if you just think about all the different reasons why, well, maybe it's because they consume liberal media, because they consume, a lot of black media is actually a liberal. Because if we talk about the Great Society and Lyndon Johnson, 1964, well, you won't believe what he said. Well, look at what he said about black people. And so I'm rationalizing. I'm trying to give reasons for why things are the way that they are. I'm defending, explaining, excusing, and rationalizing. Dance, monkey, dance, the liberal says to the conservative. But now, when the left engages in emotional terrorism, we say, I don't really care. That's a load of crap. I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to do that while doing this. That's a Tom Homan manipulation resistance formula. I have a couple of videos I've covered that, as well as J.D. Vance's techniques. And then, of course, there's the ask a better question response of Scott Adams to a question or an accusation that is thrown at you. Ask better questions. Or I don't like the question. Or that's a really dumb question. Remember Donald Trump and Gutfeld. We have got videos on all this on the channel. You'll find all kinds of great stuff here. But this dysfunctional response to manipulation, DEAR, which again is defend, explain, excuse, rationalize. You know who does this a lot? There are, in this country, in the United States, about 12 million conservative men who have a liberal wife. This is how conservative men talk to their liberal wives. They defend themselves, they try to explain, they try to excuse, they try to rationalize. It's all permission-seeking behavior. It's a need to have their wife feel good about them and feel happy with them. It generally doesn't work, like at all. In fact, Dr. Robert Glover has a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy that's all about this. You don't have to go be a jerk. There's not anything about that. It's being a man. It's saying, I don't really care. It's not attacking back. Well, you did this and you did this. And there's emotional terrorism. You don't respond to terrorism with terrorism. You just say no, period, full stop, and you end it. Just because there's illegal alien criminals in the country, you don't go and commit crimes against them for revenge. No, you arrest them and put them in handcuffs and put them on a nice little flight and say, go back to your home country, see ya. That's what men do. And the new right is masculine, but it also attracts a lot of beautiful, gorgeous, feminine women. And that's what you notice about the left is ugly, overweight, weak, and effeminate, low testosterone males with generally unattractive, overweight, androgynous females and unambiguous, possibly they, thems, but because Trump won, we only have two genders again.